Let's work on the next task, that is how to use generic variables. Till now we have seen multiple types of variables like boolean, which accepts only true or false, integer, which accepts only numbers, strings that accept, or text that accept only string values. Now, in case if we need to have any variable that is dynamic, or we don't know exactly what variable can we get, it can be either a string or a integer or a boolean value. In that case, we will use generic variables. Let's just try to understand what exactly is a generic variable. Generic variable is a type of variable that can store any kind of data, including text, numbers, dates, and arrays. For now, we are not going to check with dates and arrays. Let's go ahead with text and numbers. This type is mainly used in activities which aren't sure of what data type we'll receive. As I have mentioned, generic variables are automatically converted to other data types to perform certain actions. For example, let's try to take two generic variables. The first generic variable is an integer, second generic variable is a string. If we try to add both, and if the string value is a number, then we will get a integer value as a result. Let's quickly see how this will work. Let's try to identify how generic variable works. When you try to add two generic variables, if the first one is in the expression is defined as a string, and the result of the concatenation of the two values will be a string. For example, the first variable, that is a string, that is 10 in double quotes, and the second variable, that is 6, which is an integer. If we combine both, we will get 10 and appended with 6, but we will not get 16. But if the first value is defined as an integer and the second value, which is also a number, but if it is defined as string, when we combine or when we add them both, 9 plus 3, which is coming up to 12. Let's go ahead and see how this will work in real time. Let's start with a new project, generic variable use case. Click on create. Here we'll add set variable. We'll try a different approach in creating variables. Till now we have created in the assign activity. Till now we have created using the set variable value. Now we will go into the data manager and we'll create variables here. Click on the plus symbol and write the variable name. The variable name that we are going to have is generic number, and this will be of type generic value. So here you can go ahead and search UiPath.core. You can search for generic and you will get UiPath core generic value. This one, generic value, this is what you need to select. And default value, let's go ahead and give it as 10. Okay, now this is a number value, create. Let's go ahead and add a different value again. Click on this one, generic text, and this is of type, again it's a generic value. Let's go ahead and define it, generic value. Let's go ahead and change it to a text value, that is 20. Let's add 20 in the double quotes. This is a string value. Click on create. Now we have two variables of type generic value, and the first one is a number type and the second one is a string type. Let's go ahead and write a set variable value, and we'll try to set two values here. We will try to use variable, and the variable that we are using is generic text, and along with generic text, let's also add other values. So use inline editor, generic text plus generic number. Click on the plus symbol, use set variable value, and let's go to open expression editor, and let's add both values, that is generic text plus generic number or generic number, and hit on save. So we are trying to add a text and a number value, and we'll send it to a result or to a value, generic result. So it can be either an integer or a string, we are not sure on that. So we'll try to save it on a integer, same generic value. Save as variable, and this is of type generic, and here we are going to have generic result. Click on create. Let's add a log message activity to see the result, and in this message let's add use variable and we'll have generic result. Now in the log level just keep info and let's start debugging the code or executing the code. You can see the result in the output panel. Let's run the code. If you're seeing here, first value we have used is 20 and the second value we have created is 10, or we added is 10. So it's treating the complete values as a string and it's giving a result as 20, 10. Let's try to change this one to a different value. Let's go to variables, set variable, and instead of generic number plus generic text plus generic number, let's go ahead and give generic number plus generic text. So the first value is number, so it will treat other values also as numbers. Let's just try generic value, number, and generic text. Let's run the code. So the final result is 30. So this is the way how you can use generic value or generic data type to get a dynamic result when you don't know what can be an output. Let's go ahead and quickly review what we have done. We have started a new project and assigned a project name, and then we created two variables in the data manager panel. One variable with generic number which contains a integer value, and the second variable which is generic text which contains a text value. So when we are trying to add both values, if the first value is a text, it is considering the next value is also a text and it's adding, or this is called as concatenation, adding both values and giving us the result. Now when we are trying with the second way, where we are first adding a generic number first and we are treating the next value as generic text, now it is trying to treat the second value also as number along with the first one, and that is the reason we are going to get a number value. In case if there is a scenario that this value, or instead of number, if this is a ABCD or if this is a character, let's go ahead and see what can be a result. Let's go ahead and run. So this is the error that you will get when you are trying to add two data types, when first one which is a number and the second one which is a complete string. Now it is not able to set the value, it is not able to convert the second value to an integer, and it's throwing an error. And that is the reason the generic values should be used when we don't know exactly what the number can be or what the value can be, and we are sure that it should be either integer or a string. Whatever we want, we need to specify it properly. And the other way around, to use this generic value, since we have received an error over here, how to correct this one? Let's hit on stop. Since we are sure the second value, which is a string, always we need to convert the first value to a string. Let's go ahead and open expression editor. Generic number, let's go ahead and convert using .toString. So we are converting this to a string value, and irrespective of this one, this will be also be converted as string, and we will be saving it, and when we execute it, this will be treated as a string plus string, which is a concatenated value, that is 10 ABC. This is what you will get. That's it for today's session. If you have any queries, add it in the comments. Hey amazing viewers, hope you are loving our content. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button right now.